Where are those avatar images? Sis said they'd be here an hour ago. If I wait any longer, the fans will eat me up alive. Huh? Oh, shoot. Oh, my everything. Alright, let's see how they turned out. Ooh, perfect! Now, we can finally begin. Would you rather be you as yourself in your own bionicle story, or be Lucaria in our world with all of his powers, except you're still the size of his actual monk? Well, both have their pros and cons. If it was a former, it would likely be such a fanboy dream, being in one of your favorite universes. On the other hand, I would likely be in a heck of a lot of danger, whether it be from Rai, Makuta, Dark Hunter, Skrull, or the Monster of the Week. If it was the latter, then it would be awesome to have superpowers, and heck, maybe I could take down the terrorists. On the other hand, people would probably be afraid of me and my power, every government would likely be after me, and all this wouldn't help Lucarian's already depressed, almost emo attitude. No one wants to be sad all the time. Also, being that small might allow me to go into small places, but would also have a lot of drawbacks. I wouldn't be able to play video games comfortably, for example. Now, if there were other superpowered individuals in the real world, a la the Marvel DC universes, then that'd be one thing. But since there's no indication of the sort, I think I'll go with putting myself in the Bionicle universe. As long as it's not a terrible fanfiction with shipping out the wazoo. At the very least, if I die, I will die in the universe I love with characters I love. And hey, I can still become a kick-butt warrior, a la the Gatorian, even without powers.
Or if someone else has this question, here's my backup question. Who would win in a fight, Lucarian or Mika? Smiley face.
Yeah, nice try. But I suppose we'd have to go to a third unbiased party to get the answer. Hello? Screw Attack? How much would it cost to hire you for a special death battle? Oh. Thank you. That ain't gonna fly.
Who was your inspiration? Like BioTube and other YouTubers who do YouTube videos.
Well, my good friend MegaX1337 was creating a toy series called The Mario and Friends Show, which was inspired by Super Mario Logan. After helping him with an episode as a guest, which ended up being 5 episodes, I wanted to do my own series with my own toys, Shade.
Hey Evo, wow, you look awesome. Thank you. It's a new upgrade. They should be putting them out soon. You should get one eventually soon. I hope so.
Good gosh, I used to think these were good. But I would argue that Mika himself was my main inspiration at the time. For BioTube, I brought this up in my top 10 favorite BioTubers and my history of Bionicle videos, shameless plug, but that would be Garrick44. I loved that there was another person who had such a passion for Bionicle, and I binged almost all of his videos. Then I went looking on YouTube to see if there were other people like him, and sure enough, there were. I looked to his own series as well as my own ideas for inspiration for characters and even some plot points. Heck, both their self-mocks had the same mask. Other inspirations for BioTube probably came from Scott TGT and HBot247/Jaller, but I'm sure there are a few others. There were other YouTubers that inspired my other content like Buffles Minion, the various members of the bunch of pseudo-intellectuals, and others.
Hey Shade, have you seen Pacific Rim Uprising trailer?
I did. It was decent and it looked like fun. Has a few cool weapons. I hope it's good. Not much more than I can add, really.
Are you a real villain? Joke. Actual question. What's your favorite villain song? Can be Disney or not?
Well, I'd argue 2 of my favorite villain songs are In the Dark of the Night from Anastasia and Be Prepared from The Lion King. I actually made stop motion versions of both of these songs on my first year on YouTube, with the former being remade last year. Some of my other favorites include Hellfire from Hunchback of Notre Dame and Shiny from Moana. Yes, I like that song unironically. There's something about villain songs and themes that make them so enticing to me. Maybe it's the darker tone and atmosphere. Maybe it's some of the ominous Latin chanting some of these have. Check my music playlist. A lot of these songs, villain or not, have this type of chanting.
How long have you been doing BioTube?
Well, in February, I will have been doing YouTube for 6 years now. My gosh. But if we're talking about BioTube specifically, I would say about 5 years currently. I started getting into BioTube around the second and third quarter of 2012, and I probably started making videos with only Bionicle characters in the second half of that year, starting with the video showing off Lucario.
What's harder? College or keeping lime green joints from breaking?
College. Definitely. Since it's been taking up a lot of my time, I have less time to deal with those daggone lime green joints. That and my game design degree as programming, which while I've gotten better at, is far from my forte.
If you get into the gaming industry, what games would you like to create?
I quite enjoy platformers, RPGs, and action games. However, depending on where I end up working, I will probably do none of that. Heck, I might end up doing an entertainment game or a dating sim. At least with the latter are likely to be waifus. Now, if I end up making an indie game in the future, then I would probably make these types of games, but I would prefer to have some experience in the industry and making games in general before doing that. Except with the EA. Screw you, EA.
Congratulations! You're studying to design video games, correct? Have you come up with any ideas on the side of games you'd like to make in the future?
Actually, yes. Sadly, just like the question before, I would likely not be able to make these games until I go indie. I would like to give this character, Shade, a hack and slash style game. It would either take place in modern times or the future. The main mechanic would be creating any weapon the player desires and using them in combat. This can include swords, guns, animals, elements, and even food to heal yourself. Think of Green Lantern, but with shadow instead of light. I actually did some concept art for another idea for a game, Tic-Tac-Tomagon. Think Tic-Tac-Toe meets Pokemon. Link in the description to a folder on my DeviantArt channel so you can check it out.
What series, besides Bionicle, do you base your characters off of?
Well, there are several inspirations actually. There are several characters, more specifically the Shalos and Malgon, who are based on biblical characters and themes. Heck, I have God and Satan! That should be obvious enough. Other inspirations usually come from a specific character. Rothor was based quite a bit off the Heavy from TF2. Mammoth was based off Roadhog from Overwatch. KA-1N was based off General Grievous. Ray and Raydos were based off Mew and Mewtwo. Some of my characters are even based upon other characters in BioTube. Mike Morrow was based on Scott TGT's Ketho. Other inspirations from Scott TGT was Cleason from Dresdak and Emperor from Krulex. Although, to be fair, Emperor is also based off Nadiki. Clethon himself was based on Kylanuva's Heltraz. Some of my mocks were based on head designs from other BioTubers, such as Mycolo from Kylan's Rogi and Bogi, and Golvix on Kylanuva's Intor. There are likely others, but I've been on this question long enough. Let's move on.
In Skylander's Trap Team, what is your favorite Skylander villain combo?
Well, it's been a while since I played that game, so I don't think I can give a true concrete answer. I never really went for a Skylander and villain combo. It was usually just, which Skylanders need leveling up, and which villains do I like using the most. I suppose to make up for that, I'll bring up my favorite Skylanders and villains introduced from that game. For the heroes, Lobstar, Flipwreck, Wildfire, Fistbump, and Enigma. For the baddies, Wolfgang, Chaos, Chef Pepperjack, Dr. Crankcase, Hoodsickle, and Brawl and Chain. Fun fact, while I didn't know he voiced the character at the time, I actually met Enigma's voice actor, Steve Bloom, at a convention last year. Seemed like a nice guy.
What was Lucarian's inspiration? Because it's quite a nice mock with an amazing backstory.
First of all, thank you for the kind words. Second, I think Lucarian's inspiration came from a few different places. First was Toaskarak 44's, well, Toaskarak. Mostly from the mask. Second, Lucarian's inspiration came from wanting myself mocked to be a toe of my favorite element, Shadow. Because of that, a lot of the other inspiration came from anti-heroes such as Batman, as I felt like the moody, almost somber type of character for Lucarian. There might also be a bit of me in Lucarian. He is my self-mock after all. Caring for others, preferring to be by himself a lot of the time, etc. Of course, not all my traits can be seen in him. He doesn't really spout memes, but I digress. I'm sure all of your self-mocks have a portion of your own personality too.
What's the question?
Question. Noun. A sentence worded or expressed so as to elicit information. Verb. Ask questions of someone, especially in an official context. What? You did ask.
How do you make yourself mock?
I mostly based him off the Anaika builds. I did make a how-to on him a long time ago. I think there's a mistake with where specifically to place his breastplate, but I'm sure you can figure that out for yourself. How are you going? I think you meant doing. Fine, I suppose. School can be a burden, admittedly, but I'm doing what I can to push through.
As long as I get a decent job in the end, I'll be satisfied.
Not with you, EA! How do you come up with some of the names for the characters? Do you base them off other names, or are they completely original?
Most of my names are original, with a few exceptions. Lucarian is based off my real name, Lucas. And no, it was not based on Lucario. I've had plenty of people ask me that already. I just wanted to clarify. Since Morgana, ANT9, Mycolo, and Sheros are based off my family, their names are based on their real names too. Not giving those away. Those are up to you to figure out. Kratos and Tamina are some of the exceptions as well. With the former, I'm not sure if I really knew I was basing it off of the God of War character. At least the pronunciation was different. Tamina, I think, was based off the princess from the Prince of Persia movie. I only knew of that film from the Lego sets and never saw that movie. I don't know. I just kinda liked the name and it seemed to fit well enough in the Bionicle universe. Mishala and Guybrush were based on the biblical archangels Michael and Gabriel, which includes their names. Zelkron, Moroth, and Archon were actually names from characters I created previously in non-Bionicle stories I had written in notebooks a long time ago. No, you're not seeing those. They were awful. Dundas' name was actually inspired by Crocodile Dundee. I never saw the film, but Dundas is an Australian sniper like TF2 Sniper, and Crocodile Dundee is also Australian. Seemed to fit. Some of the names do also have parts that are based on real words. For example, Magmoro has Magma, and Lazaric has Lazy, as he is based on the deadly sin of Sloth. Since Ray and Raydos were based on Mew and Mewtwo, I wanted their names to be a bit similar. I took a similar route to when Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno were named. Ray is actually Spanish for king, reflecting Dizrahi's power, and Dos is 2, referring back to Mewtwo. There are likely others I've forgotten, but again, I've already spent too much time on this question. My question is, give me a shout-out video! What? You have more subs than I do! It should be the opposite! Please don't take this seriously. Alternative question. What do you plan to improve over the next few years? If you're talking about my online content, I suppose the quality of my videos. I believe I've taken several steps towards doing so already, such as getting a better editor and changing the aspect ratio of my pictures. Granted, there's still a lot I do not know about my editor, but I should probably try more of the options in the future. Heck, I even figured out how to do limited green screen. Other aspects I wish to improve in is in voice acting, as I've gotten more interested in it, and creating video games because, well, I kinda need to because I'm studying it.
Which is your favorite mock that you have made?
Well, I don't know if I can really say. Since Lucarian is my self-mock and Zelkron is my secondary self-mock, I have a good amount of attachment towards them, so I guess those two. Some of my other favorite mocks include Emperor, Growlthor, Karatix, Knockout, Mammoth, Morath, and Lazorak.
How many mocks have you seen?
I really haven't kept count. I assume hundreds since I've been on YouTube for so long and DeviantArt for over a year. Again, not much else I can say.
Your strongest non-grey bean character goes up against Zarek Sai in a fight. Who wins?
Did you not see me having that conversation with Screw Attack? I'd have to sell all my mocks who just barely have enough money to hire them. But I suppose it would either be Zelgron or Ma versus Zarek. Zelgron has all the powers a normal Makuta would have and is the leader of the group, and Ma has the Plague, a gas-like substance that has a variety of inflictions like paralysis, mind control, and even death. So yeah, all Ma would need to do is mind control Zarek and have him kill himself. Man, that got dark.
If you were part of the LEGO team, what story arc of LEGO Bionicle would you tell?
Ooh, that's a good one.
If I had to pick, probably the Ignition arc, taking place from 2006 to 2008, as that is one of my favorites. It's when the series started taking a slightly more mature turn, and I honestly enjoyed the storyline as a whole. In my opinion, it had some of the most interesting plot points, twists, turns, and characters. Also, whoever came up with the plot twist to have Makuta possess Manui's body at the end of 2008, I hope he got a raise.
How long does it take to edit?
It really depends on the video. If it's a stop motion with a lot of action or movement, then it can take quite a while to match up all the sound and particle effects. If it's just an update video or preview of a written chapter, then that won't take too long at all. There's also the length of the overall video, so of course a shorter video will take longer than a longer video. I guess to put everything into perspective, it can take anywhere from 20 minutes to gosh knows how many hours.
Do you think you can bring back Bionicle Legacy sometime soon?
I just want to say it now before more people keep asking me. No. I mentioned over a year ago in an update video that I would be writing my story now. Long stop-motion videos like this simply take too long, especially with an abundance of voice acting and special effects. The series coming back is about as likely as Pikachu speaking proper English.
It's because
Put this.
I always want to be with you.
What? Now, if I wasn't a university student, then that would be one thing. But yet, here I am. And I don't think things will improve after I find a job in the industry. I remember when I was working full-time at a travel plaza during the summers between college classes, it could be hard to find a lot of time to do stop motion. So I just want to make it clear. Bionicle Legacy the stop motion is over. Bionicle Legacy the written story will continue. I just have to find time to do that.
Which would you say is your favorite of the Nuva? Tahu, Kopaka, Gali, Lewa, Onua, Bahatu, or Takanuva?
I'm probably gonna say Bahatu. While I enjoy Tahu's weapons, looks, and element more, as a character, I think I prefer Bahatu. I just enjoyed his positive attitude and willingness to do what was right. I don't know, I guess I saw a bit of me in him.
What's a Bionicle? I'm joking. Real question. Which is your favorite Makuta?
Well, Tyrannosaurus in general is one of my favorite villains, what with his motivation and how he actually succeeds in his plan. Heck, even his death is spectacular! My only issue is that as the storyline went on and his plans changed, I feel like his previous plans became kinda obsolete. Like the Riders were kinda making some stuff along as they went along. For example, when Pterodax wanted to put the Matoran from Metru Nui into a coma as well as Mana Nui and wake them up later to make it seem like he was their savior, what does that have to do with taking over Mana Nui's body? Why not just put Mana Nui to sleep and then take over his body? Regardless, I still love this character. I think my other favorite Makuta was Krika. Not only did he have an awesome and creepy design in my opinion, it was actually nice to see a Makuta who wasn't inherently all for Pterodax's plan. He didn't think it was a good idea and actually had a bit of honor to him. It kinda helps that Greg Farshey loves him too.
Thought some Bionicle bootlegs?
In general, I don't like the idea of bootlegs. It could be funny, sure, but it's sad to see people try to ride the success of another property just to get some cash, rather than working with that company or making their own property. That being said, some of these bootlegs don't look half bad. Some of them even have recolors of pre-existing pieces. I might try getting some of these in the future for extra parts and some recolors, but what would make it or break it for me is how compatible these pieces are with the regular Bionicle parts. If they don't mesh well, then I don't see the point of me getting these.
If you could take any Gen 1 character and have LEGO added to Gen 2, who would it be?
Too many to count! If I had to narrow down, perhaps Karzani. Not only was he one of my favorite sets and villains in the series, but I think the idea behind him could have created interesting stories. Having the Toa fight against a literal representation of Satan or the Boogeyman and possibly deal with nightmares has a lot of potential. Maybe even have the Toa conquer their own fears and doubts that are manifested into these nightmares. Would be more development than they ever got in G2. Part of me regrets using that overused meme. But part of me also said, screw that.
What do you think of the fact that many Bionicle villains were irredeemable and that many heroes have flawless morals? Like, they work for Mana Nui, so they're good. Doesn't matter if they risk innocent lives because of it or do other kinds of morally questionable things. If they're for Mana Nui, they're 100% good guys. And everyone who is against Mana Nui, regardless for whatever reason, is 100% evil and shall be killed without mercy. And forgiveness only exists for characters who have been good before and those who are mainly Toa. Would it have been more interesting if Bionicle would have included more morally gray area kind of stories? This one is the best example. You should watch it. You must! Dybex still gets too little recognition for this masterpiece. Please answer this question. I think too less people talk about it in the Bionicle community.
Interesting. Since Bionicle in general is meant for a young/preteen audience, personally I don't think this is a problem. A lot of people like a nice good versus evil story. That being said, I think more characters in the morally gray area could have been interesting. Heck, LEGO kind of dabbled with that a bit with the likes of Krika. Tuyet and Nadiki, while not morally gray, are examples of how a Toa doesn't always have to be a good guy. If LEGO had created characters like the ones you were talking about, I think this could have added a lot more interesting story ideas and conflicts, and perhaps created an even deeper story. I think for the story they wanted to tell, what they did worked fine. but it certainly wouldn't hurt for them to try adding more depth like this in the future. And finally,
What makes a good story? I'm thinking about making my own series soon, and I'm not sure what to do.
well, I'm no expert on crafting fantastic narratives. There are certainly those a lot better than me, but I can at least give some tips. Number 1, look at some of your favorite stories. These can be from movies, TV shows, video games, books, whatever. What made those stories so intriguing for you? What methods did the writers employ? How could you use them? Number 2, look at what others have to say. There's a lot of analysis videos nowadays on YouTube. Even when taking the internet as a whole into account, there's a wealth of information at your fingertips. Use that and perhaps do a bit of research. Number 3, write the final scene first. This is advice I wish I knew about when first creating Bionicle Legacy, and yeah, I should probably do this at some point. If you write the final scene first, you have a clear goal on how it's going to end. What are the results of the character's actions? How these characters' personal arcs will end. This will allow you to plan the events preceding the ending accordingly. Number 4, make sure your characters are actually characters. Let me explain. It's one thing to have another character doing things. It's another to have that character be fleshed out. What is the character's personality? What does he or she like? Dislike? What would he or she eat for breakfast? How would he or she react to this situation? What is the relationship between this character and your other ones? How does this character develop? Now keep in mind that not all your characters need to be this thought out, but this will certainly help your character stick out more and become more memorable. Number 5, decide on the tone. Is it a light-hearted story that doesn't take itself too seriously? Is it darker with more mature themes? Is it a combination of the two? Is it one of the two but has hints of the other sprinkled to add tension or levity to various situations? The last thing you want is an abrupt tonal shift. Number 6, proofread and edit. You know in school when teachers often have you do a rough and final draft? That actually has a point. Your first draft is rarely going to be the best. Some people will write new versions of their work over and over and over again until they feel like it's perfect. At the very least, look over your scripts at least once before using them. Have a few people look over them in case they find some errors or mistakes you made. Maybe some punctuation. Or maybe there's a plot hole they've noticed. There's a common saying that you are the worst judge of your own work, and so extra pairs of eyes that aren't yours will certainly help. Number 7, don't just copy what others have done. There's nothing wrong with taking inspiration from your favorite works, but unless you add something different, people will often see it as a lesser version of that work. I'm not saying that your story has to be the most innovative. Heck, almost every idea under the sun has been used, but you could take a pre-existing idea into a new light and perhaps add an element that's not common in the genre. Anything really that might help your story stand out a bit more. There's a lot more we can go over, but we'd be here all day. I refer back to tip number 2 for more information.
I knew that was a lot.
Well, thanks again to everyone who submitted a question. I hope you enjoyed your time, and thanks again for 2,000 subscribers. I'm Shade2800, and I'll see you all later. Take care.